Barry.
Here. For your financial audit report.
Yes, I would like to introduce Mr. Kevin Bissell from our auditing firm to present the annual district audits.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here tonight. As Jeff mentioned, I will be presenting the audit for the year ended June 30th, 2025. Let me start in the statements. I believe everyone's got a copy on pages 1 through 5. And this is the letter of transmittal. This is the start of the financial statements. This letter is prepared by management. It gives a general overview of things, the mission of the district, summary information for the year, and prospects for the future. It's a good area to read if you've not had a chance to read through, get and get some perspective of the district about the year, about the statements. Moving on to pages 8 and 9. This is where we see reporting. We see 2 such certificates this year. One is from the Association of School Business Officials, and the other is from the Government Finance Officers Association. These are for the year ended June 30th, 2024. I wanted to make sure to point these certificates out. This is a really nice achievement for the district. A lot of places will submit their statements for review. It's somewhat rare to have 2 reviews of the statements and both certificates awarded. So again, I wanted to make sure to mention that. In order to qualify for these awards, the statements go through a very rigorous review process. They need to include some additional information beyond the basic financial statement information. And it's a pretty large undertaking. One of those areas that is required to be added when you're applying for these awards is the letter of transmittal, which was the first thing I mentioned at the beginning of the statements. The statements for this year will also undergo the same review process during this year. Moving on to pages 10 through 13, this is the independent auditor's report. The report states that we have audited the financial statements of the district as of June 30th, 2025. It then reflects our opinion. And in our opinion, the financial statements of the district are fairly audited in all material respects at June 30th, 2025, in accordance with U.S. generally accepted accounting principles. The report will then talk about responsibilities of management and the auditor. As far as management's responsibilities, management is responsible for the preparation and the fair presentation of the statements in accordance with U.S. generally accepted accounting principles. This includes the design and implementation of internal controls related to the preparation of the statements and the presentation of the statements that are free from material misstatements. As far as our responsibility as auditors, our objective is to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the statements are free from material misstatement. We conducted our audit in accordance with U.S. generally accepted auditing standards and government auditing standards. As such, we exercise professional judgment and maintain professional skepticism throughout the audit. We identify and assess the risks of material misstatement of the statements. We obtain an understanding of relevant controls to allow us to design appropriate audit procedures, and we evaluate the appropriateness of accounting policies and estimates, as well as the overall presentation of the statements. I'll now focus on the management's discussion and analysis, which begins on page 14 of the statements. This section of the statements is not audited, but it's a good summary of the statements that follow it. Provides some background information for you and some important information about the statements that follow. Some of the financial highlights for the year: asset and deferred outflows exceeded liabilities and deferred inflows by $66.7 million at June 30th, 2025. Net position increased about $6.1 million during the year. On the fund level, governmental funds reported a combined fund balance of $49.2 million, approximately. This was up from last year by about $2.6 million. Of that amount, $43.5 million is unrestricted and available in the general fund for the continuing operations of the district. Page 16 of the statements is a summary of the assets, liabilities, and deferred amounts of the district for both the current and prior year. Total assets increased $4.8 million from last year. Current liabilities are up about $500,000 from the prior year level. And long-term liabilities are down about $1.6 million this year. Deferred amounts also changed. Deferred inflows are down about $1.1 million, while deferred outflows are down about $900,000. These changes in liabilities and deferred amounts relate in large part to the district's portion of the statewide pension amounts that are reported throughout the state. Page 17 shows a table with details about the increase in that position for the year. You can see here that operating grants are down from last year as COVID funding has ceased. However, this is offset by the increases seen in most other revenue categories, and the result is a net increase in revenue from last year. We can also see here that expenses were up from last year. Expenses of the district are primarily instructional expenses, as they have been in prior years. And these expenses account for approximately 64% of the district's total expenses. As I mentioned earlier, net position increased in total about $6.1 million this year. Page 18 begins the discussion of the fund balances of the district. In total, at year-end, there were $49.2 million of fund balance. Of that amount, the district had $2.7 million of restricted fund balance and $3.7 million of fund balance assigned for certain purposes. And at year-end, the unassigned balance of the general fund was $42.7 million. Page 18 of the statement discusses some differences in the general fund between the actual amounts and what had been budgeted for the year. The general fund being the main operating fund for the district. Excluding pass-through pension amounts that are not budgeted for, actual revenues were about $2.3 million more than budgeted. Again, excluding pass-through pension expenditures, actual expenditures were $500,000 more than anticipated. That excess is related in large part to special education amounts that exceeded anticipated levels for the year. Page 19 discusses the long-term debt of the district. Long-term liabilities were $27.9 million at June 30th, and this is a decrease of $1.6 million from last year. That decrease is a result of a couple things. Payments were made in accordance with set payment schedules, and as mentioned, there was a decrease in the district's pension liabilities during the year. Pages 19 and 20 also have some discussion of what's anticipated for the coming year, and again, some good information for your review about what was anticipated coming into fiscal year 26. The statements themselves follow this section of the financial statements. Again, I spent some time here because it really is a good overview of the statements in total. A couple statements that I will mention, I just wanted to point out a few things briefly. Page 21 shows the assets, liabilities, and deferred amounts at year-end for the district as a whole. And as I mentioned earlier, this is where we can see the net position in total of $66.7 million. Page 23 shows the balance sheet for the district's different funds. This really provides a snapshot of where each fund is at year-end. There's a column for each of the district's major funds. And as I mentioned earlier, at year-end there's $49.2 million in total fund balance at year-end. Page 25 shows the revenue and expenditures by fund for the year. We can see here the total increase of fund balance is $2.6 million, as I mentioned. Moving on in the statements, page 29 is where the footnotes begin. This section of the statement provides some additional information and some context to the amounts that are reported throughout the statements. Also gives some background about the district and its policies. A couple footnotes that I'm just going to point out briefly for your review. Page 39 provides some information about the capital assets of the district. Shows the additions, disposals, and related depreciation by type of asset for the year. Again, provides some information for your review about how the capital assets change throughout the year. Page 42 shows a table of the long-term liabilities of the district. At year-end, bonds payable and related premiums are $16.4 million. The district has $3.1 million of pension liabilities and $8.4 million of other post-employment liabilities. Page 44 provides a table of fund balances at year-end. And again, as I mentioned earlier, at year-end, there's $49.2 million in total of fund balance. Of that amount, $2.7 million is restricted for certain purposes, as can be seen here. $3.7 million is assigned for certain purposes, largest being transportation, and $42.7 million is unassigned in the general fund. Once again, the general fund is the primary operating fund of the district, and then unassigned fund balance can be used for the ongoing operations of the district. The statements after these notes are really more detailed information about information already presented. There are comparisons for each fund about how the current year activity compares to the prior year and budget. And again, some good additional information for you to review. Moving towards the back of the statements on pages 108 through 127. This is the statistical section. This is another section that is required if the district submits its statements for review for this certificate. Otherwise, it's not required. But again, it really gives some good 10-year trend information that's really beneficial for review. And in addition to that trend information, it provides some other information about the district as far as revenues, demographics, and other operating information. So again, it's a good area to spend some time in if you have any chance yet. The last section of the statements, pages 128 through 137, is the single audit. This section is required if the district expends a certain level of federal, how the audit progresses and when. Before I get into that, are there any questions about the statements?
You might be not the right person to ask, but these breakdowns of E and G, page 114. Farm property, one of them is categories is farm property. What makes a farm?
That's just from the county, they break it out for us that way.
So somewhere in the school district, there's a farm, according to the county.
Yeah, as classified by the assessor, yeah.
And it's gone down in value in the last 10 years, so I'm thinking it's probably more farm.
Converted to.
Yes.
And again, it's how the assessor classifies.
Okay.
There's just probably some pasture ground somewhere where they're still planting it. I mean, that's like 151st and 94th Avenue. They still
Yeah.
plant corn there to keep it. That's not
There, it's only $23,000.
Yeah, it's county time. Every time.
Any other questions about the statements?
Was there any material way we should be improving our financial reporting or any of that if we're doing everything we should be doing and in your opinion we're running it the right way?
Yeah, and that kind of leads into the last part, which is kind of our conclusion on the audit process and the results and how we thought the audit went. From our standpoint, the financial statements, in our opinion, are neutral, consistent, and clear. There were no instances of non-compliance that were required to disclose, no weaknesses or deficiencies that we noted that needed to be reported. So, from our review, nothing came up as far as needing to change our review. And again, once again, this is a large undertaking to get the audit done and the statements done. Really wanted to thank Jeff and Sue and the team for getting information to us in a very organized and fashion. Always get through it and get it done in the manner that we did. So we could meet the filing deadline.
What I'm going to say, we need something, not just send kids home. We need them to learn, not just send them to the labs. Because like some kids, they just, okay, how about we do a fight, then we go home, and I'm going to go home and just sit and right, did you hear this before? Because I was, I heard this before. And I feel like about if the father and mom, they have work, who's going to take care of that child? They have to, you guys have to think about something else to make their personality like stronger, they love, to help people and this stuff. And I know some kids, they don't like to work. They didn't think before doing fights or do something wrong at school. Because they said, oh, if we're gonna do this, no, we're gonna go work, not just sit and relax at home. This is my idea. I don't know if you feel this is right or not, but because I have my child, this is gonna be 2 days at home, and I know what he feels. To be honest, he feels disappointed because it's self-defense, and at the end of the day, even with self-defense, all consequences, no Six Flags, no bus, he has to stay, 2 days at home. I don't have work, I'm gonna sit at home, but how about him? Not all kids, they say, oh, okay, we're gonna study. No, not all of them. I need him to work and do something beneficial,
Thank you for coming to the public comment. So your time is up to speak.
Okay. That's it. And I have a question for him.
Call my office, we'll sit down.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thank you so much. All right, the union reports?
Happy New Year. Okay, here is ushering the new year. Returning from break with rotation of student-led sessions for all grades, going over expectations, reviewing routines, procedures in the common areas, including hallways, bathrooms, cafeteria, playground, locker rooms, and during assemblies. A refresher, because they've off a couple weeks and people forget some of the things that they need to do. They celebrated their December Super Stingers, and they're looking forward to a strong one. Preparations are underway for fun events in February. They've got the Sky Dome on the 6th, their family nap night on the 19th, and author Jasmine Warga is coming to visit on the 27th. Okay, at Fulton, 5th grade students at Fulton completed the DARE program before winter break. Officer Schmidt from the Tinley Park Police Department taught students about the importance of making responsible choices, becoming problem solvers, and being confident in themselves. January 30th is the PTO Winter Wonderland during grade level specials and National Have Fun at Work Day. Early February starts the grade level music programs in the evenings. Who students will be reading and writing to honor Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. They'd like to thank the Moss Foundation, especially Summer Hoffman's mom, Janine Hoffman, for her efforts in acquiring much-needed nutritious, fresh food and turkeys and delivering them to ensure that needy families could celebrate the holidays. And the readathon is about to begin. Memorial is welcoming a student teacher to our 3rd grade team. We're excited to have her as an eagle. 4th grade students, families, and staff went to Memorial Times this past weekend. Very jealous. For a trip to conclude their latest Amplify unit that focused on literature from that time period. And they were pleased to come in this morning and tell us that their team had won. And their night had saved them all. Winter progress reports and progress monitoring benchmarking is all currently happening to help on guiding our instruction for the tier groups and individual student needs. Teams are working on a regular document that will help with the monthly vocabulary and topics for each subject. We're really focusing on vocab now. And this will help with collaboration for the ELL and SPED support from the other teachers.
No report. Thank you. All right, can I have a motion for the consent agenda?
I move that we approve item 7.1, approval of minutes, 7.2, approval of closed session minutes, 7.3, approval of 6-month review of closed session minutes, 7.4, the approval of the destruction of closed session tables, and 7.5, approval of financial items, and 7.6, approval of personnel.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any discussions? Secretary, please call the roll.
Dunlap.
Yes.
Casper.
Yes.
Cameron, yes. Lloyd.
7.7, approval of policy updates and changes, second reading.
Yes, there's been no changes in these recommended policies since the first read last month. A good number of policies being touched, none particularly substantively. Just minor reviews and case law updates and other things.
Is there a motion?
I move that the Board of Education approve the revised policies as presented.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Secretary, please call the roll.
Dunlap. Yes. Casper.
Yes.
Cameron, yes. Lloyd.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes. 8.1, information 10-year health, life, safety survey report.
Sure. A couple months ago, Southbrook ISC informed us that ISB needed a little bit more information from our previous 10-year survey report that the architect does every 10 years. That was for 3 of our schools, so we reached out to DOA. They worked with the states. They have to resubmit the original application. It was from 2021. I don't know why it took so long. Maybe it was local COVID at that point when we submitted it. And DOA has gotten all the information, and as soon as the board acts and signs off on it, we will resubmit it.
So the one for Central says the estimated cost is $328,800. What does that mean exactly?
So I did talk to Eric about that because the other 2 schools, even though we do have deficiencies, have 0 numbers.
Zero, yeah.
That number is equivalent to our health, life, safety fund balance at that point. So he attributed it all to Central because they have the highest amount. He said it doesn't affect what we do or how we decide to use the money. It doesn't obligate us to spend it all at Central. It's for ISB and some reporting that they did to analyze all school districts throughout the state and everything.
So we're not in any way out of compliance or deficient with anything that we need to spend $300,000 to get in compliance?
Every 10 years they do the report. It could be anything from some of our items might have to do with in our other schools, safety glazing that's not tempered, and we've been working along through the years fixing these in-house. So there's nothing so drastic that we're threatened with closure or anything like that.
Take that to summer 2026 facilities projects.
None on that.
Okay, thank you. We have 3 projects we want to discuss tonight. There's information that we've been working on. First project, which we talked about all 3 in committee of the whole and we decided. Our building automation system, which operates all of our HVAC equipment in the district, we were notified that the hardware is called LON, and that company is no longer making the product anymore. So we worked up a plan with Precision Controls. Precision's been with us for 20+ years, great to work with. So we're going to begin a transition of this hardware. It doesn't have to be immediate, it would be extremely expensive. So this summer we'd like to do one portion of CMS. We'll harvest all the hardware that we're replacing, and that'll be our backup for the other schools. This will be included in our long-term facilities plan to continue every year replacing the technology components at the schools. The total cost is $89,400. Because it's a technology project, it does not have to go out for public bidding. There's an exclusion for technology projects in the school code. Any questions on that? The second project that we're putting together is further renovations on a smaller scale this year at Central Middle School. DLA will be involved in this because it will be a publicly bidded project. The project cruising fear, we tiled the walls, new toileting partitions, and hand washing sinks. At this point, we feel that the plumbing fixtures are in good shape, and we're probably going to keep those, but we're going to get an alternate price on that. The budget number that DOA has given us is $365,000 to $405,000. That also includes the minor renovations in the main office, the main circulation desk, secretaries, workstations are all original, and a small line of cabinets in the main office hallway that we're looking to replace.
I have a question about the bathrooms.
Sure.
Are we going to continue to keep this open the hallway, or are we going to move it to the sink so they can actually do it?
Yes, I'd like to explain to the rest, there's been issues with soaping removed from those. We just currently got locks put on those, and we're gonna have those moved back, and hopefully they will be left alone. But yes, definitely, we want the soap next to the sink.
Right. Okay.
Thank you. And the third project is a smaller roof renovation project at Cruising Fear. We focused on the roof area over the main offices. That's original to the additions in 2002. And we also asked for an alternate for the gym roofs because they're separate. The pricing we felt came in really good and works into our capital projects budget that we have for this year. The same company who did Central, Garland Roofing, they did their own bidding process, and were able to work with them through the Omni purchasing co-op, so we will not have to go out for public bidding. The roofing renovation comes with a 20-year guarantee. That won't finish Cruising Fear. If we attempted to do both, that would have been $1.7 million, so again, it'll be added into our 5-year plan.
So Matt, next month, we're going to ask for approval on the 2 projects that don't need to be bid, and also approval to let the third work bid.
Correct. Well, for the CMS interior renovation, we'll ask the bid, and hopefully we'll be able to bring the recommendation to the March board meeting.
Thank you. 9.1, communications correspondence.
I've got one. Just wanted to extend a thank you to the District 146 administration and school board for the beautiful flowers at my mother-in-law's service today. The